Welcome to another edition of Teach the Geek interviews. My name is Neil Thompson. I'm the founder of Teach the Geek. I work with technical professionals so they can present more effectively, especially in front of non-technical audiences. And you can learn more about that at teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. Today, my guest is Caroline Dunn, and she is a YouTube creator and author. And in her corporate life, she started in engineering and transitioned to marketing before pursuing her current endeavors. I'm curious to find out more about her previous work life, the change to creator, and the ways that her past has prepared her for what she does now. Welcome to Teach the Geek interviews, Caroline.
Thank you, Neil, for having me on today. I'm super excited.
Wonderful. So, from the bit of research I did on you, I saw that you studied electrical engineering. So, what was the motivation to do that?
Oh, man. Yes, I completed my bachelor's and master's degrees in electrical engineering at Georgia Tech. Number one, Georgia Tech was my dream school. I wanted to go to Georgia Tech. This was it for me, my life goal here. And when I got to Georgia Tech, I was going to be, undecided major. I just wanted to go to Georgia Tech. It didn't really matter what I was going to do. When I got there, I found out that electrical engineering was one of the big three, top majors to be in. It was the largest school at that point, and it just seemed so sexy to me. Right. Honestly, it was so exciting. It was such an exciting time to be in electrical engineering, and it's still my first love. And part of it's also my father never got to go to college, and he was an electrical engineering hobbyist. He loved electrical engineering. He taught me his love for electrical engineering, and I want to think that this was kind of a tribute to him to fulfill his legacy. And that's what he would have done. He would have been an electrical engineer had he had the opportunity to go to college. So I was just so blessed to be able to go to college and study electrical engineering. And I loved it. I loved every minute of it.
Wonderful. I don't think I've ever heard electrical engineering and sexy used in the same sentence.
I mean, it was just, how does the world go around? We saw what was coming. We saw that computers were going, we saw the internet coming, we saw mobile phones coming, and we knew we were on the bleeding edge of innovation. And I wanted to be on the bleeding edge of innovation. And I saw that ticket to be electrical engineering.
All right. But I saw you also got an MBA. So what was the motivation to do that?
When I got into electrical engineering, when I went into the workplace in engineering, I realized, and this is exactly what you're doing at Teach the Geek here, I realized that I did not have the communication skills I needed. None of us did. We were great at electrical engineering. We were not great at communicating why our innovations were great. We were terrible. We were not prepared for the translation, explaining what we were doing and why it was important. We all knew why it was important. And so I realized there needed to be a translator. There needed to be somebody who could expound upon the value proposition of what the electrical engineers were doing. And I found that spot to be in marketing. Okay, content messaging. Okay, somebody needed to understand the technical side and translate that to, how does that make your life better? What is the value prop? And so I took one for the team. I don't know. I needed to learn how to communicate so that we could sell our electrical engineering products. And so I needed to have a career pivot. And in order to do that, I did an MBA.
Okay. Okay, yeah, that certainly makes sense. And you know what, you were talking, Caroline, about having the translator. It reminds me of a presentation that I went to a year ago at a technical conference. There was a business development person that was giving a presentation in front of engineers, and he got a whole bunch of questions afterwards that he couldn't answer. But luckily, there were two engineers from his company in the audience, and they answered the questions from their seats. From what you were saying, it sounds like these two engineers, they unfortunately were not the translators that they could have been, because if they were, they would have been the ones doing the presentation as opposed to the business development person. So I'm really glad that someone like yourself and hopefully others saw the importance of being a translator as opposed to having someone else do the translating for you.
That was the problem I saw, was that people were coming up through the liberal arts school, and they did not understand the underlying technology to what we were doing, what the electrical engineers were doing, what engineering was doing. Okay, let's just broaden it out to not be so specific. And so they're making assumptions. Okay. In AI, we call that hallucinations, right? They're trying to understand what the technology does, but because they don't have that technical background, it's impossible. They're not trained to understand how the technology works underneath. If you don't have that foundation, it's going to be really hard for you to market these products and be able to, yeah, go into a technical presentation, try to be that engineer, try to explain the technology, but have no underlying understanding of it. You've become a parrot. You have memorized a few lines, you've made some sexy slides, all right, and then and now you're faking your way through it if you don't understand the underlying technology.
100%. I 100% agree with you, Caroline. And you know, well, ultimately, it's easier to give those technical people the skills to communicate what they know. That's easier than asking a non-technical person, as you mentioned, to know what the technical people know and get up in front of engineers and speak in a useful and competent way, because those engineers are going to sniff it out really quick, and then you're going to get a whole bunch of questions, and then now you're flop sweating.
Yes, those engineers are going to sniff you out. Yes, we can
Yeah.
smell fear. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I mean, it sounds like from your career, you started off in engineering and then you moved into marketing because you saw that that's where it would be useful to be able to communicate what the work that the engineers were doing. I mean, was it not possible to do that while still being an engineer?
Oh man. So I would have loved to do that had there been a way to do that. So, but no, I mean, at that time, this is a while back ago. No, I didn't see how I was going to be able to be that technical presenter, and I didn't have the skills either. Quite frankly, coming out of electrical engineering, I did not take. I was not skilled in making presentations. We did not learn PowerPoint in electrical engineering school. I learned VLSI design. Okay, I learned how to put the chips on the circuit. But no, I did not learn any presentation skills. So I had to go learn that. I did not know that.
Yeah, yeah, and that's so unfortunate because even if you stay in an engineering role, it's still useful to be able to communicate what you're working on. But the fact that you had to leave and go into another role altogether, yeah, it just strikes me as a missed opportunity for the organization that you were working in. Yeah.
Oh, well, I would have, if I had the opportunity, yes, I would have loved to do that. And I think that's how the world has changed. And I think that's the importance of Teach the Geek, is that you can learn these skills. This is easier than learning actual engineering, is to learn how to communicate your expertise.
Yeah, I mean, the whole motivation for me even starting Teach the Geek had to do with me working at a medical device company and having to give presentations as an engineer in front of management on a monthly basis on project status. So I wasn't in marketing, I still was in product development, but I had to speak to these decision makers who are, senior management, and my presentations were terrible. And I noticed a lot of the other engineers who had to give presentations in front of management, their presentations weren't all that much better than mine. So you could have put us in marketing, but it wouldn't have made a difference. We weren't going to be very good regardless. I guess we had to go through the trials to see that, having all this technical expertise is great, but if you're not able to communicate it, no matter what department you're in, then you're certainly at a disadvantage.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
you've got to bridge the gap.
Yeah, 100%. So you started a YouTube channel. I'm really curious to learn more about the motivation for you starting your YouTube channel.
Oh, okay. Thank you for asking me about my YouTube channel. If anybody's wondering what it is, it's youtube.com/Caroline. Caroline. I got my first name because I was early on in YouTube. So I wanted to make videos where that I could show my friends. Okay. And my friends know me as a technical engineer, type person. And I wanted to do something that was accessible to people. And I was on a budget. So I was like, uh, what's the cheapest technology I can show people? And I wanted to actually not do the marketing fluff. I wanted to actually do real tutorials that you could do this at home. So, in order to do something at home, you have to have means, motive, opportunity, just like murder, right? So, right. So you have to have the materials to do it. And is buying a $3,000 computer and doing some fancy stuff something that's reasonable for a kid or somebody who's interested in learning about tech? Probably not. So I started with the Raspberry Pi, a $35 computer. So means motive. You want to learn about tech, but you don't have that opportunity to. Not everybody gets to go to Georgia Tech. I was very privileged. Okay. I will admit that right now. And then opportunity is, hey, you've got to learn from somebody. You're not just going to take out a Raspberry Pi and it's going to magically teach you. I started making tutorial videos on YouTube, and I did different types of tech. I did smart home tech, but I wanted to take my electrical engineering education and put it to some sort of use for either women who wanted to learn about technology, and people who just didn't have that opportunity to do it. So I wanted to overcome means, motive, opportunity.
Nice. I think there's a lot of people out there that have always thought about creating a YouTube channel, but perhaps they hesitate to do so because they don't know where to get started. So for the people who are watching or listening to our conversation and have those aspirations to be a YouTuber like you are, how do you think they should get started?
Oh, thank you for asking. Number one, what do you have to offer the world? And maybe not everybody in the world, but a segment of the world, a subset of the world. Okay, niche. So YouTube is really into niche populations. So we're no longer watching TV because that's general population stuff. So there is a niche who wants to learn about technology, women who didn't have that opportunity, kids who don't have that opportunity because they're growing up in substandard housing, right? So what can we do for them? So it's more about what you can do for people than what you can do for yourself or becoming a YouTuber. I did not want to become a famous YouTuber. That was never my intention. It was about teaching a few people who didn't have that opportunity otherwise.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I think you're right about that because I mean I don't even remember the last time I looked at TV. Well, everything I do is it seems to be looking at YouTube videos. So you're certainly in the right place. So once you figure out the what you want to do on YouTube, is it just the developing that consistency of making videos? But I mean, what do you have to do to get people to actually watch your videos?
Oh, that's a great question. So some people go through this whole marketing plan and they make all their friends subscribe to their channel or they go through a lot of stuff. I did not do that, okay? And that's probably a mistake I made, okay? So this is ironic because I claim I'm a marketing person, but I didn't market my channel. So this is probably not the way to go about doing it. But for me, it was just about making good content consistently. So I didn't know what I was doing at the beginning, right? So and I was really camera shy. So my face isn't in like the first like 100 videos, I would say. So I was so afraid of being a woman in technology, of being that, and I didn't want to own it, but now I do own it. And I'm proud of that. So, but I didn't know. It was a lot of trial and error. It was about just adding value. It was about consistency and like, oh, I just figured this out. I bet other people have that question too. Let me just put this out there. So the thing I am good at as a marketer is I'm good at SEO. Okay, so your video has to be about what it is claiming it is about. So people try to trick the system by saying their video is about one thing, but then they talk about something else. That doesn't work. They know better than that. Their algorithm is super smart. So you make a video and you have to actually say this video is about what it really is about. And that for me, that was the key to success right there, was just saying what my video, typing in the title what my video was actually about and being honest about it. And yeah, it just kind of grew from there. Yeah, I've had comments about, oh, your channel could be so much bigger if you did this, that, and the other. I'm like, I'm just trying to help a few people.
Got it. Yeah, that certainly makes sense. You know, in the intro, I also mentioned that you're an author. What's your book about, and what do you hope people take away from it?
Thank you for asking. And I have my book right here. I just published my book at the end of April of this year, and it's part memoir. It's part of being a woman in technology, but it's a satire. It's written from a funny perspective. So this is supposed to make you laugh, okay? And it's just about it's a lot of bad advice. I'd like to say that there is a disclaimer in this book that says, if you choose to implement any of the advice I've given you, don't sue me when you get fired. Uh, so, because when I say it's a lot of bad advice, what I do is I take what men do in the workplace and I reframe it as a woman did this in the workplace, and then it sounds totally ridiculous.
Hmm.
It suddenly becomes when I write about what a man does, but just put a she instead of the he, it sounds totally ridiculous. And and people are in disbelief and they're like, this is totally bad advice. And I'm like, well, men do it all the time and nobody blinks an eye. So, what's wrong with me and my bad advice here? So it's just me making fun of the tech industry and the social norms that we have in this tech industry. So yeah, it hasn't gotten any better. When I was studying electrical engineering at Georgia Tech, I was one of two women in the class of, let's say I went to class and there was 35 people in the class or 30 people in the class. Two would be women. The other 28 would be men if it's like a 30-person class. So I, and it hasn't really gotten much better than that, which is shocking to me because, there's no heavy lifting in electrical engineering, right?
I'm really curious to hear at least an example of the bad advice you offer in the book.
Oh my gosh, where do I start? So I have this scenario where I'm in the middle of a meeting and I'm the product manager. I am I'm the senior product manager and I'm rolling out, hey, this is the new thing that's coming out in this product. I was like, but we got to do an over-the-air firmware upgrade. And the guy in the room who thinks he knows everything is like, oh, you can't do over-the-air firmware upgrades, period. And I was just like, you don't know that. You don't speak to the handset manufacturer. You're not in my position. It was shocking that he did that. So I proved him wrong. I was like, no, this is how you do it. Boom, and then he shut up. Yes. So I just called him out on it because he said all sorts of things that were wrong. And so if you're a woman and you're calling out a man in a meeting, that is no, you shouldn't do that. But if you're a man calling out another man in the meeting, no, it blinks an eye.
Hmm, interesting. So it certainly sounds like an interesting read for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Caroline, I think as I mentioned earlier, when I first started this channel, it had to do with my own struggles giving presentations in front of management when I worked as an engineer. And then listening to the stories of other people like yourself who have technical backgrounds, talk about what they did to improve their with their communication struggles if they had any. So I'm curious, was speaking in front of others something you've always been good at? And if not, what did you do to get better at it?
Oh, okay. So for speaking presentations, you practice makes perfect. So I was forced into making presentations, and at first I hated it. I like I told you, on my YouTube channel, I don't think I show my face in the first 100 videos. I was so camera shy. But you keep on working at it, and you keep on working at it, and trial by fire, you either embrace it and you watch yourself on video and you take notes and you try to improve, or you give up completely and go into a hole somewhere. I guess it's up to you.
For sure. Well, I mean, the fact that you didn't show your face for your first 100 videos is probably, at least partly, a sign of perhaps nerves in being in front of the camera. So if that is the case, what did you eventually do to manage your nerves?
Oh, I was forced into it against my free will. I just want to say that, okay? If I had a choice, my face would not be in any of my videos, okay? I was forced into it because in order to grow your channel, people want to see the person behind these videos. Your videos, nobody's going to watch your video if your face is not in it. You are not this blank person. People hate that. And in order for me to get to that next level at YouTube, I was forced into making videos with my face in them.
Oh, okay. I see. So being able to, well, even though you're now in front of the camera in your videos, you have to appear in a way that you're not sweating profusely or go stumbling over your words. So, do you have any techniques that you have used in the past or currently to be able to make it so that you appear competent on camera?
Oh, we all struggle with that. I'm still struggling with that, I'd like to say. So I would say practice makes perfect. So force yourself. Now you have a camera. You can record yourself on your webcam, on your, on the camera on top of your computer, and just force yourself to do it. Record yourself, play it back. It's so horrible to have to watch yourself back. I hate that. I absolutely would rather like poke my eye out than have to watch myself on camera. But I force myself to do it, and I get better and better and better at it. And I would say that I got to the point of I got so good at it that I was on a game show last year. Like, I mean, and they talked about what great camera presence I had. And I was like, thanks. I was forced into this against my free will. But okay, yes, I'm great on camera. And I was on I was on a game show called Bingo Blitz with Valerie Bertinelli last year. They invited me, they saw my camera presence. So there were several Zoom interviews like this. And they were like, you're going to be great on camera. And then after I lost on Bingo Blitz, they invited me to be on more game shows because they said I had a really great camera presence.
Oh, wow. Look at that transition from not even wanting to be on camera to now being on game shows. Wow. What a change. That's wonderful. That's excellent.
Yeah,
Congratulations for that. Kudos to you. So
thank you.
for the people who are watching or listening to our conversation, Caroline, and they think, well, Caroline wasn't even on camera for her videos for the first 100, but now she's on game shows. Now she's fully on camera for her YouTube channel. Obviously, this is something that she saw the benefit of getting better at. So, what advice would you have for that person who is listening or watching our conversation? To well, I guess what's the first step that you'd say that they should take in improving their speaking skills?
Number one, that you want to do it, that you see the value. You just said that, hey, they see the value, but how do they get started? I mean, you really have to see the value. I mean, just is what is holding you back? Is your career stagnating because you don't have those presentation skills? That I
Yeah.
would ask myself that. Is there an opportunity to advance in my career, to make more money, to get something? What's in it for me? Or what's in it for you, the viewer? What's in it for you to be good at presentations? If there's nothing in it for you, then no, don't do this because this is horrible. Okay, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. Okay, quite frankly, and this is as an engineer.
Yeah.
I did not want to be on a game show, by the way. That was terrifying for me. But part of me is last year was a year of yes and taking those chances and saying yes to things. And so as part of so you have to make a commitment to yourself. So you have to really want it. What's in it for you? Is if there is something in it for you, promotion, more money, popularity, fame. I don't know if that's what you want in life. I do not want fame, by the way, just for the record. If that's what you want in life, or if that is helping with your interview skills. Let's say you're looking for a job. The job market's tough right now, so you can improve your interview skills by doing this. You can, be that one. You can be the next one to write a book. So you write a book. People expect you to present your book. They don't want you to hide behind the book. And, so you want to be an author. Great. You're going to have to do speaking engagements, or you can not sell any books. It's up to you. Right.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right, Caroline. And you could be that technical person who thinks that his or her work speaks for itself and you'll get opportunities based on that. But at least the longer you are in the workforce, the more you realize that that's not the case. Typically it's the people who are visible are the ones who get opportunities, and speaking is an excellent way to gain that visibility, especially with the decision makers who can make things happen for you. And you don't want to be that engineer in their cubicle disgruntled because you didn't get the pay raise or the promotion you think you deserved.
Your project got cut because you didn't articulate it to the VP.
Yeah.
The person who was the squeaky wheel, whose project didn't have as much ROI as yours, wasn't as important as yours, their project got approved. You know why? Because they were a squeaky wheel. They kept on talking about how great their project was.
Yeah. Yeah, my project actually did get cut. That actually did happen.
Okay, thank you for the testimonial.
Yeah, yeah, that actually absolutely did happen. So as I said, I had to give those presentations in front of management. They weren't very good, and eventually my project got cut. And this happened over 15 years ago at this point. And I still think, man, if I was just better at communicating the usefulness of this product, they could be selling it right now, making millions of dollars. But because I was inept, and I tried to get in front of these people, use a whole bunch of jargon, tried to read my slides, try to get out of there as quickly as possible. But I never got out of there as quickly as possible, Caroline, because I'd get questions afterwards I thought I'd answer during the presentation.
You did. I believe you. You did answer those questions during the presentation.
But they
Okay. But not in the way that they could understand it.
right. I mean, yeah, hindsight's 2020. I definitely can look back on it and I think, I think I could have improved back then. And you know what's so crazy about that, even thinking about it now, is I knew I wasn't doing very good after the first presentation. So you would have thought, this is something to improve at now. So the next month you come back better. But I did the exact same thing the second time, the third time, the fourth time, the fifth time. It wasn't until that project got canceled that I thought, Neil, this whole presenting in front of people thing, maybe this is something you need to look into. Yeah.
So I realized this. I remember I was in graduate school and we had to do a group presentation in front of the National Science Foundation. NSF flew their people in so that we could do a presentation. And we put together the presentation and you had to do a SWOT analysis. And none of us even knew what SWOT stood for, okay? Much less do a SWOT analysis. So we throw up a slide up there and we do our SWOT analysis. And then NHS, the speaker for the National Science Foundation comes back and says, so what do you think of this SWOT analysis? And we, honest to God, the response was, we didn't like the threats or our weaknesses, but we were super excited about our strengths and opportunities. I swear that's what we said. And then I looked at the face of the people who came to the National Science Foundation, NSF people, and it dawned on me right at that moment. It just clicked for me. Oh my God, this was a sales presentation, and none of us know the first thing about making a sales presentation. So that's my advice: is you are a salesperson. Okay, you might call yourself an engineer, you might have that title of engineer, but we're all salespeople. You are selling your product, you are selling yourself, you're selling your competence, you are selling innovation. And you need to be a salesperson. That's what every presentation you go into, what am I selling and how am I going to convince people to buy my thing?
Yeah. I fully agree with you, Caroline. And if I knew you back in 2008, maybe 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 things would have been different at that company for me.
So maybe my advice is also take a sales course. It's the most painful thing. I mean, I'm not about the easy path. I'm an engineer. We all take the hard road. Okay. So taking a course in sales is so painful. It's the worst thing. I mean, I would rather crawl into a hole and die. Okay. But you will learn so much from speaking to a salesperson, from doing a sales presentation, from sitting through a sales presentation and thinking, oh gosh, I'm glad I'm not that loser up there.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And I totally take your point that despite what you may think, we all are salespeople. We all are in positions where we need to influence people to do what we think is best for the organization. And I think a lot of us technical people just think, well, the data speaks for itself. I mean, I presented all the charts, I presented all the graphs. How do you not see what I see? But these people don't have the same level of expertise as you, so of course they're not going to see what you see. You have to convince them. And I think a lot of us, we just don't think about that.
Yes, the data does not speak for itself. Your work does not speak for itself. And this is the most painful part about being an engineer and being great at what you do. Nobody knows it until you selflessly, horribly brag about it.
Yeah. Yep. Can't agree with you more. This has been a great conversation, Caroline. Thank you so much for being a guest. How can people get in touch with you?
Thank you so much for having me. On LinkedIn, I'm Caroline Dunn on LinkedIn. I'm the #1 search If you type in Caroline Dunn, my name, I'm the #1 search result because I'm in marketing. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, everyone, this marks the end of another edition of Teach the Geek interviews. My name is Neil Thompson. I'm the founder of Teach the Geek. I work with technical professionals so they can present more effectively, especially in front of non-technical audiences. And you can learn more about that at teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. Until next time, take care and stay safe. Thanks, Caroline.
Thanks. Bye.